Okay, Senator, we are live and Senator Reagan is in the attendees.
Okay, if you could somehow pull them over, that'd be great.
I will. I just did.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Senator Gary Daniels from District 11. Today we'll be holding the meeting of the Senate Finance Committee. Before we get started, I'll read through a checklist to ensure that the meeting we are holding is in compliance with the right to know law. As chair of the Senate Finance Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which is authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possible by video and or other means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selected legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through the platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously watch and or listen to the meeting on Zoom or YouTube and via phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website. We have provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting in the Senate calendar. We are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remote Senate, that's one word, at leg.state.nh.us or call 603-271-6931. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, it will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote. Finally, let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states his or her presence, please also state where you are and if anyone is in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will call the roll. Senator Reagan? You need to unmute.
Senator Reagan is in, I'm in my office by myself.
Thank you. Senator Gaida?
Senator Guide, I'm in my home in Warren. I'm by myself, but I may have an occasional transit by my grandson, my daughter, or our Shih Tzu dog.
Senator Hennessy?
Good afternoon. I am home in Littleton and my son is in and out of the room with me.
Senator Morse?
Senator Morris, I'm in my State House office and I am alone.
Senator D'Alessandro?
Senator Lou D'Alessandro, I'm in Manchester. I'm in my home and my wife is in the room.
Senator Rosenwald?
Good afternoon, Cindy Rosenwald from Nashua. I am at home and I am alone in the room.
Thank you. And I am Senator Gary Daniels. I am at my home in Milford and I am alone. So at this point, we will go into executive session. Is there a motion to do that?
So
moved.
got
Okay,
three.
everybody does it. Moved by Senator Gaida, Senator D'Alessandro seconds the motion. We'll take roll. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald,
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes, and we will be in executive session. First bill I'd like to take up is Senate Bill 44, establishing the New Hampshire Workforce Pathway Program and Commission.
Would you like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I guess we need one to get it going.
And I would move on to pass.
There's a motion by
I'll second it.
Senator D'Alessandro, seconded by Senator Rosenwald, that Senate Bill 44B ought to pass. Open for discussion.
I understand that we have, we're going to have two people here for discussion on the matter. The Chancellor of the Community Technical College System and Beth Doran.
That is correct.
So I would think that, first of all, I don't understand why this bill is here. There's no appropriation attached to it, and it passed the policy committee, I think unanimously. So, so if the further explanation has to be given, then I'd like to get it. And if it deals with cost, then that's the issue that we should bring forward. So I would hope that the chancellor of the community college could tell us about the program, how the program runs, and how industry is so anxious for this program to get going.
And so we will recognize the chancellor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Daniels and everyone else. Thank you. To answer Senator D'Alessandro's question, this original proposal was based upon a model that exists in the Virginia Community College system. Today, I was asked to answer the specific question, how is it that you're going to do this without money? And the quick answer is we do need money to do this, but it is not money that needs to be appropriated by the legislature. We'll use a variety of funds. Some of the students may be eligible for WIOA funds. In some cases, the industry has money. For instance, I would cite the excellent sponsorships we've received from the New Hampshire automobile dealers. We also have a series of federal apprenticeship grants that can be used to fund this type of short-term retraining programs. We do have some internal scholarships. We have opportunities, if whatever the short-term training program is that's developed, to apply for the job training grant funds. We are anticipating that there will be quite a number of grant opportunities coming from the Department of Labor. That's what we're hearing from our professional organizations. And so part of this was to position us as a state so that we had access to all of the partners that the community college might need to pull a grant application together pretty quickly. And the other funding source I would identify are external scholarship granting entities like the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. Really depends upon what sort of short-term training program we're putting together. We think that there will be a real need in both the retail and hospitality industries, and we're beginning planning at the various colleges to that effect.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee or further discussion? Senator D'Alessandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chancellor, what about the work or the significant help that Eversource, Hitchner, and BAE Systems would be affording the program? They're all looking for people, and that, as I understand it, in the past they have been willing to participate. Is that still the case?
I believe that is still the case. I've only recently spoken to folks at Eversource, but given those three partners who've been extraordinary and have contributed, BAE specifically in the development of the microelectronics boot camp at Nashua Community College, Hitchner actually at several of our community colleges in the area of advanced manufacturing, automation, and robotics, both Nashua Community College, Manchester Community College. I would also cite Ruger, that has sponsored boot camps at River Valley. And Eversource has a large interest in continuing its very successful line worker program that it has sponsored at Manchester and is looking to probably duplicate in the North Country as time goes on and permits.
Good. Further questions?
Further question?
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chancellor, a student, a Pell Grant recipient would also be a good candidate to get into this situation. And a Pell Grant would bring to the institution what a max could get almost 7,000, right?
That's correct. The Pell Grants have been expanded. The other thing that's happened with Pell Grants is they're now expanding the experimental short-term Pell Grant program to the rest of the country. The details haven't been fully worked out yet, but you're correct. Those are additional sources for us. I'll go back to your question about Eversource, where students take advantage of the regular Pell Grant to pay for the tuition. There have been grants from Eversource to buy all of the appropriate safety equipment. So every student who goes through that program is given a grant, if you will, for the appropriate kinds of footwear and safety equipment. So I anticipate, given these industries' continuing interest in training more workers, that they will continue to support us as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, sir.
Other questions? Chancellor, you have control over the classes that you run at the colleges, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I don't personally, our presidents do, but yes, we have control over what runs.
If the college was to run a class, it could be determined by the trustees or somebody other than the legislature, could it not?
Yes, I see the direction you're going in, sir. We as a system and as 7 independently accredited colleges have control over the programming that is offered.
Okay, because I mean, while I'm supportive of, the need to realign the job training programs to accommodate those industries that need the help, I'm also cognizant that we have as of 2 years ago, 130 job training programs. And I don't know that it needs to have legislation to take those programs, to consolidate them, or to change them to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And so while I'm supportive of the direction that we want to go in educating students for the workforce, I don't know that this legislation is necessary to do that, because I also don't see that there's anything that would prohibit you from reaching out to those other interested parties that want to work with you to accomplish the same thing that a commission would do. Have I got something wrong here?
No, Senator, I don't think you have something wrong. I would say first that we have no desire to interfere with anybody else's training programs. And I'm aware that within the state, there are different entities that offer training programs. So it wasn't in any way construed to take business away from any of the, for instance, for-profits or other nonprofits. When this proposal originally began, there was an interest in having the state support some of these programs. As time has gone on and the bill has changed, that interest has faded. My interest at this point remains in encouraging strong partnerships, and so that, again, as the federal grant opportunities open up, we have connections to the entities that we need. But I agree with you, sir, that there are other ways of accomplishing this. This is one way, but there are other ways.
Okay, and just a final follow-up. Is there anything that's prohibiting you from working with Commissioner Caswell to work on those segments of the business areas that need the help and restructuring things to provide those different training courses?
There is nothing prohibiting that, Senator, and we have a great relationship with the BEA and Commissioner Caswell.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. Any further questions?
I would like to.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. So just to follow up on Chairman Daniels' question, I'm just trying to figure out what it is that you need in this bill, or do we even need this bill for you to do these certificate programs? Because I know that we already have good relationships with private sector businesses and we have certificate programs. So maybe you could just expand a little on that for me.
Certainly. Thank you, Senator Hennessy. The bill was an attempt to put everybody in the same room at the same time, so that there was a certain expediency that doesn't necessarily exist at this point. Senator Daniels mentioned the BEA, but the grants will also require, connections with DHHS, with employment security, and with other state offices. So again, nothing preventing us from having conversations and so on. It was an opportunity to bring people together. And I would also say that there was the opportunity to bring a certain level of urgency into the conversation because of the part that calls for a report in early December.
Thank you, Senator Gaida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chancellor, could you help explain the differentiation, if you will, between this program and any currently existing programs that might exist?
Thank you, Senator Gaida. Nothing comes to mind for me at this moment in terms of this kind of partnership across multiple agencies. And this may frankly purely be my ignorance at this moment. I mean, there were opportunities for that kind of interaction when there was like a WIOA Youth Council. I guess I will stay with my original statement. I'm not aware of another entity that would serve in this particular way. We are members of the Council of Partner Agencies, which is headed by Commissioner Caswell. But much of the conversation that happens at COPA is around affordable housing and so on, and not as much around employment.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm mindful of the fact that the Senate has already voted on the policy 22-2. And I don't see an FN on this bill, or I haven't heard a cost. So I'm not feeling like an expert enough on the policy as the Commerce Committee is, which already said yes to this bill and convinced all the rest of us recently. So it just seems to me like strengthening the formal relationships can only be helpful when we've been told that there's not going to be a state cost. So I'm satisfied.
Thank you. Any further? Okay,
Senator Daniels,
yes.
just to clarify, the vote out of the Commerce Committee was ought to pass on a vote of 3-2.
Well, thank you. Okay, seeing no more discussion, Senator Gaida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that Senator Khan is in attendance. And I would wonder if it would be appropriate to ask him to answer my question regarding what differentiates this program from any existing programs. Given that the Chancellor has indicated this is sort of a first attempt to get all these different agencies that are involved in a single commission, but I'd like to hear from the sponsor if that's permissible.
I can do that, Senator Daniels.
Okay,
Senator Khan, please unmute.
I have, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Gaida, for your question. What distinguishes this program is trying to align what different agencies do best. Employment security does a great job, and we saw through the sector partnership analyses where the job needs really are, where the vacancies are, and where the growth trends are, where the growth track. So they do that really well. They get people into the unemployment security line and through, and we've all been grateful for that. Then there are trainers. Their community college is a set of trainers, but not the full set. There are career centers throughout the state also provide credentialing. And then there are the employers, which BEA is particularly skilled at. And then there's the Department of Corrections, which now there is, through second chance scholarships and through the Pell program, people with prior criminal records can access federal aid and other programs. And then there's the Licensure Bureau, who can advise where some of the licensing opportunities might be through OPLC. The point is, when you put them together to try to align those, the people who are needy of employment and reskilling, and the various providers and the employers, you create more of a system that we really don't have right now. And this is not intended to be certificate programs that are, they may evolve to that. These are to skill and upskill people into, and not to all jobs. This is the sectors that the New Hampshire economy, as measured by employment security, can see. This is where we need those employment opportunities, and we can start to channel people into those programs 6 weeks to 6 months, and try and do it as efficiently as we can. And if we can do this at no cost to students, because we can shorten the time and we can align our resources, and the employers can play a part in giving them views into the workplace, either through participation in the training or in employment alongside the training. I mean, this is all advantageous to building a workforce. And had I not seen this work so well in Virginia, where they've got 90% completion rates in these short-term retraining, reemployment opportunity programs, or in Utah, where they have the upskilling, reskilling program. I mean, it is something I think here in New Hampshire we could benefit a great deal through stronger alignment of our systems.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, the motion on before us is ought to pass on Senate Bill 44. Seeing no more discussion, I'll call roll. Senator Morse,
Yeah. No.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
Senator Hennessy,
No.
and the chair votes no. Motion passes 4-3. And who will take this out?
I'll take it out.
Senator D'Alessandro?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to go to Senate Bill 73. This is establishing a green building standards initiative as part of the low moderate income housing loan program and making an appropriation thereof, and establishing a commission to study green housing and utility source options. And I understand, Senator Rosenwald, you
I
have,
have an amendment. that I would like to move with your permission, Mr. Chairman. It's
Yes.
number 05. And it's in Deb's fabulous drive. And I'd be happy to explain what it does.
Hey, you're recognized.
Thank you. So it deletes the first two sections of the bill, which were creating the program on green housing and utility. And it deletes the appropriation. It was $1, it deletes that. It makes two changes to the makeup of the commission. One is that it responds to the information we got from Madeline Nino of Clean Energy New Hampshire. She recommended that there be 2 additional members, one of which was energy efficiency. The prime sponsor and I thought that was already incorporated by a current member of the commission, but the solar industry wasn't represented, and yet it's a growing industry. So this amendment suggests adding that member appointed by Clean Energy New Hampshire, who is the association that represents New Hampshire clean energy businesses. And the other thing it does is it just rewrites little c, study how to ensure that fair labor standards are upheld. And that is all it does. So basically the bill is a quick commission now that is repealed on November 1st of this year, but looks at how we can retrofit buildings, older buildings, for very necessary housing, and does it in a way that is sustainable.
Thank you. The first order of business is the amendment. And any discussion on the amendment? Or is there a motion to on the amendment?
I'll move the amendment.
Okay, so Rosenwell moves the amendment.
I'd second the amendment.
Vice D'Alessandro. Discussion.
Just clarity on the amendment, because I don't have it before me. I didn't go to my folder, Deb, so I apologize. But I did write down the number 0359S, right?
Correct.
And as I go through it, Cindy, the first.
0509, yes.
Okay, excuse me, 0359S.
No,
Senator Rosenwald, he's referring to the amendment that you previously sponsored that was
okay,
moved.
but
And
this, do I have to withdraw that? Okay, so I didn't realize I had made a motion on that previous amendment. Then may I withdraw my motion on 0359S?
Yes.
I believe that we already voted on that amendment. Am I correct?
Let me check. Yes, 7-0.
So I think probably what we need to do is reconsider our vote
Okay,
on that. And we'll vote that down, then we can entertain 509.
Move reconsideration.
Senator Guida moves reconsideration on
359.
0359S.
359S.
Correct.
Second,
yes.
okay, seconded by somebody,
I'll second it.
Rosenwald. Okay, any discussion on this? Everyone know what we're doing? Okay, we'll call roll on the motion to reconsider. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Guida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald,
Yes,
Senator Hennessy,
Yes,
Senator Reagan.
Yes,
Okay, motion has been reconsidered. Is there, okay, so guess we have to vote this out, down.
Move ITL
Second,
Okay,
on 359.
Motion by Senator Gaida and second by Senator Rosenwald on Senator Rosenwald's first amendment. And the motion is ITL. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
yes,
Senator Rosenwald,
yes,
Senator Hennessy,
Yes,
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
and the motion carries and the amendment is defeated. Okay, now we'll go
sorry
to
about that.
Rosenwald. That's okay.
So if I could move amendment 0509S.
Okay, Senator Rosenwald moves amendment 0509S. That was, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Senator D'Alessandro. Okay, now we're open for discussion.
And if I could, the way this is different from the amendment we just voted down is it adds one member to the commission, and that is a representative of the New Hampshire solar industry appointed by Clean Energy New Hampshire, which is the professional association for clean energy New Hampshire businesses.
Okay. Thank you. And it also changes item C.
Item C, I believe, had been changed in the previous amendment.
Any discussion? Senator Hennessy.
thank you. Sorry, my dog's barking right now. So in that same email that Representative Rosenwald was referring to from Madeline Minot, she also mentions that there's 2 programs that already serve low income with green energy projects. And so when we were holding this vote off, I thought we were trying to determine if this commission was actually even necessary since we already have programs in the state that do this.
If I could respond.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I think we're thinking about only one aspect of this bill, which is the green energy. But the other aspect of it is to ensure that the jobs that are created are good paying jobs. And I did not see that that work is duplicated by other programs in New Hampshire. And so it seemed to me like it was worth a quick study to see if those 2 issues could coexist. Could we do both? And I think that is new work. So in my opinion, this bill is still worthwhile even without the appropriation and without the creating the program that was in section 1, because it is a quick study and it's repealed. I think it's worth looking at. So I did review her letter. It's a long way of getting there.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Yeah, to the point of her letter, she does mention that there are programs under the Public Utilities Commission, as well as some within the Renewable Energy Fund. There's a community solar program, as well as it was a community actions program. So I do think that among those entities that are out there, and I don't believe that we're looking at all of them, that there is the opportunity for them to take further initiatives into their agendas and try to work with these things. But I guess the thing that really is kind of a no-go for me is while I think that any jobs would be good paying jobs because we're in New Hampshire and things are pretty much based on competition. But to put something like the Fair Labor Standards in there actually goes further than that in other qualifications. And I know the part that was removed had to do with $15 an hour or prevailing wage. So by taking those things out, but keeping the Fair Labor Standards in, I don't see that it changes that much. And so I will be opposing the amendment. Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is ought to pass on amendment 0509S. We will call roll. Senator Morse,
No,
Senator Gaida,
No,
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes,
Senator Rosenwald,
Yes,
Senator Hennessy,
No,
Senator Reagan,
No,
and the chair votes no. Motion fails on a 5-2 vote. We're back to the original bill now.
I'll move ITL.
Motion by Senator Gaida that Senate Bill 73 be an expedient to legislate, and that's seconded by Senator Morse. Discussion? There being none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse,
yes,
Senator Gaida,
Yes,
Senator D'Alessandro,
no,
Senator Rosenwald,
no,
Senator Hennessy,
yes,
Senator Reagan,
yes,
and the chair votes yes. The motion carries on 5-2 vote with Senators Rosenwald and D'Alessandro opposed. Is there someone will take this out, or I'll take it out. Going on to Senate Bill 104, adopting an omnibus legislation relative to the classification of state employee positions, reverse auctions, and community health workers. And I have an amendment, and you should have received an amendment for that. Let me see.
0574. S.
I believe that's it.
That's correct.
Yes.
right,
All the amendment does, it takes out part 3 of the bill. That's basically the money part, $600,000 a year in 2022 and 2023.
I'd move the amendment ought to pass.
I'll second.
Senator Reagan moves amendment 0574S ought to pass. That's seconded by Senator Hennessy. Senator Rosenwald, you're recognized.
thank you. I'm wondering whether the committee would consider, instead of removing the money, changing the funding source. And I would propose that we could fund it possibly with federal COVID relief funds if they are available. This initiative was established by the governor's COVID Equity Task Force, and that reported this summer. And we could say something like, to the extent permissible under federal law, the sum of $600,000 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 22, and the sum of $600,000 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, shall be transferred from any federal funds received by the state in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency to the Department of Health and Human Services for establishing community health workers in each of the 13 public health networks. And the reason I wonder if we would consider this is if the work has value and the question is only, we don't want to spend $1.2 million of general funds. This would allow, if the money is available and if it were permissible, us to do the work with federal relief funds. And so I don't know how you would feel about that, Mr. Chairman, or anyone else on the committee, but it would salvage the initiative.
From what I understood, these workers were going to be at a district level. Is that correct?
Yes, there are 13 public health networks around the state, and there are 2 city public health departments in New Hampshire. But this would just allow, if the money were there and if it were permissible under whatever the guidelines would be for whatever extra relief money came in, it would allow that money to be transferred to the department to establish these important community health workers.
Senator Reagan?
So what this attempts to do is establish jobs in an agency that apparently hasn't requested them. And if this were in the budget, we're expecting the budget, that the proper place for establishing these new positions would be in that agency's budget. So I don't know why we're trying to do it this way. It's like a criticism of the agency. It's like you don't know what you people are doing with your employees, so we're going to tell you what your employees you need and where they should be.
Thank you. Senator D'Alessandro?
I think 2 things are apparent. There are only 2 cities in the state of New Hampshire that have a health department, Manchester and Nashua. So we, by virtue of this piece of legislation, we recognize the need and we appreciate the acknowledgement of that need. And that's a key element. We all know that this is a need. Now, the second point is funding the need. And as Senator Rosenwald points out, if the problem is the money from the general fund, could we construct an amendment to this that says that federal money that comes into the state could be used for this purpose? And the purpose is recognizing a demonstrated need and addressing that demonstrated need. Now, I'm looking through the testimony all through the presentation of this piece of legislation, and everyone speaks favorably for this. The Division of Public Health, the person from Dartmouth-Hitchcock, the New Hampshire Public Health Association, all speak about this and the need for this. So we have an opportunity. So again, if the dollar amount is the problem, what about federal monies? These federal monies become available. We use it to fund a demonstrated need. And Lord knows we need it. I get calls all the time from people who say, isn't there a health department? Well, the planning director also works as the health department person in some of our communities. And there isn't a synergy between those 2 functions. And I think, again, based on the testimony, just as we go through the testimony, it makes sense. And if we can find a source of funding outside of the general fund, we should do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Pineda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 27 towns that I represent. Not a single one has said, we need someone to come and tell us what's available. We have locally elected officials. Many of those towns have health officers that have access to the resources. Everyone that's testified for this is someone that's in the field. but I've not heard a single constituent ask me, can we please establish this? Okay, and for that reason, I won't be supporting this. You come through a pandemic crisis, and we have all kinds of telemedicine coming up and so forth that I think make these jobs arcane. With the new legislation coming across from the House, establishing health officers and training for those positions and so forth, I don't think we need to duplicate any effort or to grow an agency for which not a single constituent, business, medical, or otherwise, in my district has requested.
Thank you, Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I'm looking at the hearing report, and the department testified that they have been deploying these health workers during the pandemic. So they have managed to get some of these health workers out there, and it's possible that people don't know who works for the state and who works for the federal government and who is what. But the department has been relying during the current budget on some of these community health workers around the state. So I would agree, reading the hearing report with Senator D'Alessandro, that the department was favorable to this bill, and won't be the first time that legislation creates jobs
Thank you,
outside of the budget.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. I agree with Representative Rosenwald that I think federal funds are a much better use for these positions, especially since they'll probably be temporary, hopefully, that the pandemic would be over by the end of this biennium. Am I frozen?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Okay. Everyone wasn't moving, so. But since this is part of a omnibus bill and the other two pieces don't have financial pieces attached to them, I think it would be better to take this piece out and consider it as part of the budget when it comes before us. I am sure that if the department was in favor of these, they've probably included in their budget request. I'm not sure or not if they've been funded or not, but we'll find that out in the budget side of things. But if we were to keep it as part of this omnibus bill and send it over to the House, and the House had not included it in their budget, then the whole omnibus legislation would probably end up failing, and then we couldn't include it as part of the budget because the House wouldn't agree.
Senator Gada, have you got your hand back up, or wasn't it taken down?
No, I'm sorry.
So a couple things from my perspective. I can't see that the person that's being hired here is a frontline worker. They seem to, by the language, it seems to be that they're more going to be a coordinator and trying to getting partner organizations together. So I look at that more as administrative. The other question I have, and I don't know the answer to it, is how much federal money have we received that hasn't been spent yet?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, and Senator Morse and I have been trying to find that out for a period of time, and I think we're going to have a meeting of the Gopher Committee on Friday. Is that right, Senator Morse?
I'm gonna try again.
And we'll find out how much hasn't been spent, and certainly in the bill that's currently before the Congress of the United States, there is a multi-billion-dollar appropriation for the state of, as it is for all of the states, for the states and municipalities. We will be getting billions of dollars will come to the state. So the answer to your question is I don't know with the first query, because that's an unknown that we'll find out hopefully on Friday. And the second part is when the bill that's currently before the Senate, if that passes, there will be additional federal funds coming to the state of New Hampshire.
Senator Morse, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all guessing on federal money, and I don't think we're gonna know that till the middle of the month. But I mean, the allocations to the two communities that were suggested that are being looked at are huge. And if those communities decide to fund something like this, you know, it'll be interesting to see if this is their first choice to fund or something else is. Because the cities have their own separate allocations coming from Washington, and they're substantial. They're not small. And you know, to the extent that this is, you know, and it's all COVID related, this is what they would prefer to fund. I think that's going to be an interesting discussion, but that won't happen up here. That'll happen locally, to be honest with you.
Okay. And my understanding on an omnibus bill is we can't separate it in committee. So it will have to be passed to the floor as either ought to pass or inexpedient. And there you can get a division vote. Is that correct? And then I guess other parts can be attached to other bills or whatever. Senator Morse?
Yeah, I'd like to point out something. The budget's not going to be here till April 8th or the 9th. You know, if the Senate on this particular piece, you know, which we can't carve out and put on the table because we don't have a way to do that this time. If this becomes an issue in April, May, and June in the Senate, you know, we're going to discuss it as we discuss the budget. But the reality of the whole thing is, I agree the rest of it should go over to the House right now. And, you know, how we record this and talk about it later, you know, I don't know what the federal funding is going to look like in New Hampshire and how it's going to come with strings attached. I think that's the difficult part.
Okay. Any further discussion? So we had a motion on this.
It was moved by Senator Reagan and seconded by Senator Hennessy.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will call roll. Senator Morse
This is on the amendment.
On the amendment,
on the amendment.
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
No,
Senator Rosenwald,
No,
Senator Hennessy,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. Okay, we're back to the bill as amended.
move on to pass.
Motion by
Second.
Senator Reagan, seconded by Senator Hennessy, that Senate Bill 104 be ought to pass as amended. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
no,
Senator Rosenwald,
yes,
Senator Hennessy,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes, and motion carries 6-1 with Senator D'Alessandro opposed.
who's going to report it out?
I should.
Senator Reagan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have our amendment to Senate Bill 119. Currently,
I do.
you,
That 566?
Yes, And if I might, could I move Amendment 0566?
Second,
Yes.
Okay, on Senate Bill 119, Senator Rosenwald moves Amendment 0566S. That Senator Gaida seconds. Discussion,
If I could speak to my motion.
Rosenwald.
Thank you. Hope I'll have better luck on this bill. At the public hearing, there was a lot of testimony about whether we could change the statute so that a member joined, when they joined the retirement system, could fill out their pre-selection form. So that they would have still had to take the action on pre-selection. It would not change their retirement benefit. It would simply get them, get the paperwork done earlier. When I spoke to Marty Carlin at the retirement system, he had another idea for what we could also do. He told me that occasionally a member who is eligible for early retirement dies and has not filled out the pre-selection form. But in some cases, the surviving spouse could be eligible for a higher benefit than the 50% if that member had filled out the pre-selection form. And it would also be administratively more simple because the retirement system would merge the beneficiary form with the pre-selection form. And he told me that since the early retirement people were younger, they died less often. And so there would be a smaller cost increase to the bill, maybe $1 million on top of the current fiscal note. I asked him, and I don't know if he's in the list of attendees, but I asked him about members who were already currently in the system and had not had the opportunity yet to fill out their pre-selection form. And he said that the retirement system would interpret this language to apply to current members as well. If he's on the call, and if anyone has questions about that, maybe he could confirm that. But what this essentially would do is allow the retirement system to get that pre-selection done in combination with the beneficiary selection when somebody first joins the system. And then it would be the responsibility of the member to keep those forms up to date if their life or family circumstances changed, just as they would have to do that with insurance policies or housing deeds or, whatever the other major financial instruments in their family are. I think this is a good way to solve the problem, and it is administratively more simplified for the retirement system. So I hope you will all vote for it.
Thank you. I do see that Mr. Carlin is in attendance, and I will let him in if anyone has any questions for clarification.
I'd love to have him clarify that they would interpret this to apply to current members.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Marty.
Thank you. For the record, this is Marty Carlin from the New Hampshire Retirement System. Thank you for having me come on to the audio. Yeah, I can confirm, I did speak with Senator Rosenwald as well as some other senators about this bill. And this amendment to Senate Bill 119 was reviewed, by staff at NHRS. And what it would do would allow us to combine the pre-selection and the regular beneficiary form. Basically, there'd just be a section about opting a pre-selection, and it wouldn't be effective unless the person was eligible for retirement under 100A5. So it doesn't increase the benefit for anyone who isn't retirement eligible, but it allows those forms to be combined. Right now under the current law, only people who are retirement eligible for full retirement age eligible can fill out the pre-selection. And we do have a number of people who are eligible for early retirement, maybe in their 50s, who basically do the same thing now by filing an application and then changing the date on it every 3 months. They're called refilers. So essentially what this law would do is, this is the only sort of benefit in NHRS where there's you need particular actions by the member for it to be enforced. Everything else is sort of an automatic death benefit. The retirement formulas are what they are, things like that. So this amendment, in terms of compared to the original bill put in by Senator Kavanaugh, would amend a different section of RSA 100A and allow us to administer the benefits that way. So somebody on their day one, if they had the packet of things to fill out, they could fill out a beneficiary form, designate a pre-selection, even though they may not be eligible for that for another 30 years, but it would be on file with us if they were still working and passed away while eligible for retirement under 100A5. In terms of the cost, I don't recall, putting a ballpark on that, because it would require some actuarial analysis of the amendment if it's adopted, but the projections for, deaths for people prior to age 60 in service is a pretty small number, in the actuarial assumption. So, while it may have a slight change in cost to the original version of the bill, we don't know how material it would be, or if it would be material at all.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carlin, for joining us today and for working on the amendment. So just to confirm, this does not expand any benefits. It just covers people who had not filled out a form timely.
Yes, these benefits are accessible to people who take the proactive step of filling out the form or filing a retirement application, and this would just make it available to all members, not just those who do that extra step.
Thank you.
And Senator Rosenwald mentioned something about adding another $1 million.
Yeah, I don't. Nobody at the retirement system would be able to sort of estimate that without sending it back out to the actuary once the amendment's been passed, and we do another fiscal note on it for LBA. But it just sort of looking at the incidence of deaths, in-service deaths. This amendment we believe would be similar in cost, although possibly a little bit more than the original SB 119. But I wouldn't want to commit to $1 million, give or take. It could be much less. It could be a little bit more. I'm not sure what the range is on that without an actuary crunching the numbers for us.
Okay. Any further questions from Mr. Carlin? Okay, well, thank you very much, Marty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, just one other point I just wanted to reiterate, because Senator Rosenwald had asked me about it. Basically, when somebody fills out this form, they can update it at any point in their career while they're still working, if they have a life event, marriage, divorce, et cetera. So, no one's committing to a pre-selection at 22 that, they're not knowing where they're going to be when they're 60. So the form is revisable throughout their career. They just would have to send in a new form to update, the beneficiary information.
Right. Good, thank you.
Could we just ask him to that it would cover the system?
You were
They'd be
broken up.
able to fill out.
Question.
They would be able to fill out their pre-selection form too.
You were broken up, Senator.
I'm sorry.
We didn't.
Comcast. That the retirement system interprets this language as allowing current members to be able to fill out the pre-selection form as well,
Yes, that
not
is
just
correct.
new members.
Yeah, if this was enacted, any active member would have the opportunity to use it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlin.
Thank you.
Okay, so anyone else? Senator Morse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm speaking to the amendment or to the bill, but I've expressed this to you before. I've been here, well, several of these members have been here the amount of time I've been in the Senate and in the House. And I'm still having a hard time understanding why this has never come up before this year. And it sounds like it's not a new benefit. I mean, I guess I need to understand that. I've told you before, I think this is something that truly is a real study in the sense that I don't understand it. But I mean, it's at least a couple of $1 million more that's going to get charged back to the communities based on the original bill. And I mean, that part of it, I won't do again. I mean, it was done last session and now everybody's screaming at us that we go and put something down on the communities, which, you know, Governor Lynch got us out of that business. And I don't know why we're making decisions up here for the communities. I just have a hard time with this one, not understanding why it's showing up this year when I've been here long enough that, you know, to realize that, is this a new benefit that's being moved forward here? And that's what I don't understand.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Senator Morse makes some good points, but I think both Senator Guida and Senator Rosenwald really looked into this. And from my standpoint, it isn't a new benefit. It's really a clarification. And that should have been done at the entry point a long time ago. And it was obviously missed. And as a result, we had a couple of situations that came to pass where this wasn't done. And as a result of that there was a problem with the retirement benefit for the survivors. So I'm not sure that it's clear that this is $1 million more in expense. I didn't. When I spoke with the retirement system, that wasn't what I got. So both now, Senator Roosevelt and Senator Guida, you've spent as much time talking to the retirement board as I have. Is that the situation? Is that what you got after that discussion?
Go ahead, Cindy.
Rosenwald.
Thank you. I mean, my memory of my discussion with Mr. Carlin was that adding the early retirement piece would not occur very often. And he said maybe another $1 million, but if I hallucinated that, I'm very sorry.
Senator Morse.
Yeah, I guess that's a question on my end because the original FM was $1.8 million, and now we're saying another $1 million on top of that. I certainly am not voting to support this today, and I guess I still am not getting an answer to my question. All of us that have been here 20 years, why is this coming up now and not being considered a new benefit?
And just a question on your math. I came up with about 2.7 just for increases on the political subdivisions.
Well,
And-
political subdivision right now is 1348 and this, and,
1381.
1348 is what I have on this document, but then I have another 443,000 in the state level.
That's just for 24. 25, you've got another 455,000 for the state and 1381 for the political subdivisions.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that came up in going over this bill, because I sort of understand the reason in doing it, but in passing a bill like this, are we downshifting to the local communities? Are we
Which
placing?
is my point exactly, Mr. Chairman. And we got bill number 72 or something because of what was done last session. They're right, but I didn't vote for what was done last session. And we're sending bills back to our communities, and people are asking for us to pay for what we send back to them. And we shouldn't be sending bills back. That's my point.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I remember from the public hearing, there was a lot of discussion about how this was not a new benefit, but that the retirement system in their actuarial calculations were kind of counting on the fact that some people who were eligible for a full benefit were dying without having filled out the paperwork. And that doesn't seem right to me, that we should have a benefit that we agree on, but then we should fairly decide what the real cost is and not try to make it harder for people to comply with. And it just seems terrible to me that somebody, for want of a signature on a form, their spouse for years or decades could receive a lower benefit because a form had not been signed. It just doesn't seem right to me. So it's not expanding the benefit. It's just making the form more easily available for the person to sign.
Senator Morse.
I agree with Cindy 100%, but it doesn't answer the question why in 22 years of service, I've never seen this question. Why? I don't get it, why it comes up now that all of a sudden, I got to decide whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy because I didn't fund this or didn't fund it. That's the part I want to understand. And, I just, no one's been able to explain that to me during this time period, because I doubt they overlooked this for 20 years. I doubt that.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Well, I think that's the point. I think that's the key point in this discussion. Why did this come up now when we've had this plan? We've had retirement in place. I've been around this place for a long time and have not heard of this before. And we've had, I would say, multiple discussions about the retirement system, multiple discussions as time has gone on. And as I said, I've been here a long time. This is the first time I've heard about this. And I have nothing but respect for Cindy and Bob for trying to resolve it. But indeed, if it creates a problem that goes back to our communities, then it takes on an entirely different focus. To be honest with you, my perception was, and I want to state this clearly, that by correcting this, we were correcting a situation that has existed because they weren't told about this when they signed their initial papers. And as a result, it was just overlooked. And it came to pass that there were a couple of occasions where, as a result of not doing it, a problem developed with those beneficiaries of the retirement systems, the survivors. So that's how I see this appearing on stage at this particular point in time. But to be honest with you, I've never heard discussion about this particular aspect for a long period of time. Mike Downing and I worked on the retirement system long and hard when he was here as a senator. Some of you may remember those days. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. So if Mr. Carlin is still on the line, maybe I can ask him a couple questions. Would that be okay?
I can add him back on. Okay, Mr.
Welcome
Car-
back, Mr. Carlin.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have two questions. One, in your actuarial assessment you did for the initial fiscal note, did you actually use data of all of the people that were affected on this in the past to project what the future cost would be? And also, is the future cost for 24 and 25, is that reoccurring every year thereafter with a slight increase?
Yes, I'll answer the second question first. It is a reoccurring cost, and it basically the 2024 appearance, the 443,000 for the state and the 1.348 million would increase at the payroll growth assumption for the plan, which is a little bit under 2.75. So that would be the recurring increase in that cost going forward. What the actuary did, this wouldn't grant any retroactive additional pensions to anybody who survivors of anyone who passed away previously. But what they did was they used the assumptions for the number of in-service deaths, and without the pre-selection, that's typically a 50% benefit would be paid to a spouse, as the pension calculated on the day the member died, or a lump sum payment, of contributions and salary back to that spouse beneficiary. So they took the existing law, ran the assumptions for projected mortality for, folks, in that age range, and what the difference, would be, with the 100% benefit versus the 50% benefit, is how they crunch the numbers essentially.
Did they actually use numbers? Is there some way to figure out in your system who the people are that haven't filled out the form, and that's how they got to the numbers?
No, they were just using raw numbers of all member projected, future deaths of all in-service deaths of members who are eligible for retirement. So they didn't take into account how many people had a pre-selection on file, in there. I think, we have, somewhere the number we pull out of the system, we think is an undercount, which was about 1,200, but we don't think they're attached to the individual member files. So we'd have to kind of review that, but there's a fairly decent number of people who do the pre-selection once they become retirement eligible.
So the calculation wasn't based on any past people being, let's just say the word gypped of the benefits. It was, I'm just missing how these numbers would be accurate if it wasn't based on past.
Well, it's an actuarial calculation, and I am not an actuary, although I've hung around them long enough to pick up a few bad habits. But essentially, what they do with any piece of legislation that would have an impact on an actuarial impact on the plan is they have a complex set of assumptions and formulas that sort of interplay with each other, where they would project future benefits for every single active member in the system, and then aggregate it back into a, to a single average, and that would be the average rate increase. If everyone, who is eligible, the beneficiary of every member who died in service got 100% of a pension benefit versus 50%, and that's that's how they ran it. Those numbers are obviously there were a lot of assumptions built into them, so that there is a range. That's not going to be an exact dollar. The farther out you go, the experience may be more or less.
Senator Reagan.
I answer my question.
Okay, thank you. Senator Guida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marty, is it correct to state, putting this a different way, that the actuaries assume that nobody has actually checked, has actually filled out the paperwork? So this would be an assumption that 100% of retirees didn't fill out the paperwork, and those numbers would then produce the cost that we see in the fiscal note?
Yeah, I don't know that, so I don't want to speculate. I can try to circle back with, obviously you're executing the bill now, but I can get an answer if it helps, from the actuary, what they use, because I'm actually, well, I don't want to speculate. I think you may be correct, but I don't have enough of a grounding to go further than that, so I can reach out.
Further questions? Senator Morse.
Yeah, Marty, I guess I'd like to understand, when someone becomes eligible, what would be a reason not to fill out this document?
There is truly, absolutely no reason, unless they have some really weird tax bracket situation. I mean, I can't imagine any scenario. I mean, when we because it's a benefit that the member has to act on, when we do member education presentations, for instance, we have a slide on the pre-selection option, and we tell people, if you're eligible for retirement and still working, you should, this form gets your beneficiary a larger benefit. Think of it, it's almost like, it sounds too good to be true, but there isn't a downside, because it doesn't lock you into anything once you retire. I couldn't think of a hypothetical where, unless the person was estranged from everyone they knew and didn't want somebody to get extra money, that they wouldn't put in a pre-selection if they were aware of it.
Senator Hennessy.
How did they miss it?
This question is for you, Mr. Chair. So I definitely agree with Senator Rosenwald's sentiments on this, and that I don't think a form should be prohibitive somebody, spouse or other person receiving their benefits. But I would love to know how this actuarial assumption is done, and what the actual amendment does to the numbers. Just in case we don't have the actual numbers. And so do we need to vote on this today is my actual question.
No, we probably could put it off for another week. I think there's some points that have been raised. An updated FN is one of those. The answer to your question on how they do that is another. I think just for clarification, it was mentioned that there was no retroactivity, but in fact there is retroactivity, because if there's somebody in the system now, if they don't sign their paper, or let's say they're past their tenure and they hadn't signed their paper, by passing this legislation, they're basically going to be retroactive going back, and actually anyone else too, because as I understand it, it's kind of built in tiers. And currently the benefit is 50%, but in passing this, that it's going to increase that. But I mean, if it is a desire of the committee, we can put it aside. I know there is also a mention of possibly a study on this where we could get all the answers. But I'll have to say that I do have some concerns based on what I have heard from different people at the State House as well as my constituents about downshifting stuff, particularly on the retirement side. It is, whatever it is the desire of the committee.
Well, what would we gain by holding it? I asked Cindy and Bob, who crafted the amendment, and a number of things have come up in discussion that leave questions unanswered. But to your satisfaction, have enough based on this amendment to move forward, or is it in the best interest of everybody involved to wait till we can find out some more? I think that's the key. I worry about some of the discussion that we've had today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, the element of personal responsibility enters here, but sometimes we forget things. But at the same time, one would have to assume that almost all of the people who would be affected by this, who did not fill it out, are in fact represented by a union. If in fact that's the assumption, question is, if the union or the administration of the non-unionized personnel were to inform them, that would incur the cost anyway. Okay. So, I mean, there's an education component here that, if I were king for a day, I would send out a message that says, hey, take care of your business. And that might in fact provoke the increase in cost regardless. So I'm not sure we're saving any money by not doing it, but we don't have enough data to know whether or not it's, who's actually done it, who hasn't done it, and what's the actual cost impact.
Bob, isn't the real question, why wasn't it done?
Excuse me, Senator
Why
Reagan.
wasn't it done?
Senator Reagan is recognized.
Well, thank you. Excuse me.
Okay, so I'm the surviving member of the original Retirement Commission from a long time ago. And I followed all this ever since 2006. And this is another error in the administration of the retirement system that falls harshest on people we don't even know the numbers on. But we have a fiscal note that says we're talking $3 to $5 million more every year, which means one heck of a lot of people, or maybe not, are being denied a benefit. So this bill is not ready to be passed. I will oppose this bill because we don't have the information.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Well, I think that there is a sort of a period where we don't know. I mean, there is a lack of some information, and the key question is, when people enter into a program, isn't there an orientation that gives you all of the alternatives, and then you decide when you enter into that program? So somebody missed the boat here, and here we are years into the process, and we're trying to fix it. We've had the retirement system for a long period of time. So I think we do need a little bit more information, and we should. I mean, we have a moral situation here also that I think nobody wants to back away from that. But indeed, it's we don't really have all of the answers that. I don't really have all of the answers that I need at this point in time. There's a lot of unanswered questions here.
Thank you. Senator Morse.
I'm all set.
Senator Gaida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is Marty still here?
Looks like it.
I am here.
If I may, through the chair, Marty, does the retirement system provide any kind of a brochure or a briefing or anything of that nature to new employees that are in fact entered into it?
We do have some sort of benefit summary handouts, and we have sort of a new member email that we send out, and there's a printed version of that. But we've had the benefit summaries for quite a while. We added the new member information a couple of years ago.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Is there any mention of this made, of this particular issue made in that briefing or handout or whatever email?
No, there isn't, because right now under the current law, you need to be, retirement age to, elect, the pre-selection form. So how we do, like I said, when we do member education presentations, probably, 35, 40 a year. And there's a slide that we cover in those, and we always encourage people, tell your coworkers about it. We include it in our member newsletter, a couple times a year that we send out by email. So, we try to spread the word on it, but, it's kind of impossible to reach every single person, no matter what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, if we could find out from Marty before next week, a recalculated fiscal note based on the actual number of eligible members who have died without signing the form, and the actual number of early retirement eligible members, then I think, as Senator Hennessy suggested, the cost is likely to go down, because it seems like maybe they're calculating that nobody filled out the form. But like Senator Morse, I haven't been here 22 years, but in 16 years, I never heard this problem brought up. But I think that the system benefits for that, because they've been able to calculate a cost based on a certain number of people not signing this form and putting their family's financial security at risk. And if I had known about it earlier, I would have wanted to make the fix before this year.
So
Senator, if I may, am I still live?
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you. In terms of a fiscal analysis of the amendment, by next week, I think that could be problematic. I can definitely get some answers to Senator Hennessy's questions about the methodology, and most likely some raw numbers to Senator Rosenwald's point about how many people are eligible or who don't have it. Typically, with the statutory process for fiscal notes, it's when a bill is introduced. If it's amended in a policy committee and then adopted by that body, we do another fiscal note, that way. So, there'd be a sort of an out of statute cost running the numbers on this amendment, and I'm not sure if they could turn it around by, say next Tuesday either. I can obviously discuss that with senior staff, but that's typically something, we're not generally able to do. Maybe we can have a conversation with the actuary and get pinned down some more of the methodology, but they're they want to run the formula. They don't like the backs of the envelopes, in the actuarial profession.
Would you be able to have that information within 2 weeks?
I can sort of touch base with folks here and get back to you with an answer by tomorrow on that.
Okay. Senator Reagan, do you have your hand up from before, or you have another question?
No, I'm answered.
Okay, thank you. Are there any objections if we put this aside till we get more information on this? Okay, I think we have consensus on it. So we will leave Senate Bill 119 at this time. Senate Bill 127, I'm still waiting for information and amendments from Senator Bradley. So I think that pretty much covers today.
Senator Daniels?
Yes.
What about Senate Bill 72?
I've still got a hold on that one.
Okay,
too.
so we're holding right now on 72 and 127.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then we'll take up 119 next time we meet. Senator Morse?
Motion to leave executive session?
Second,
Motion by Senator Morse to leave executive session. That's seconded by Senator D'Alessandro. Call roll. Senator Rosenwald,
Yes.
Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
yes.
Senator Reagan.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and we will be out of executive session.
You missed it.
Yes.
We got her.
Senator-
I got you, Aaron. You see that? I picked it up. I picked it up. I picked it up immediately.
I'm sorry, Senator Hennessy, what was?
Yes.
Senator Daniels,
Yes.
you want to speak about next?
Yes, well, I didn't hear a motion, so I didn't know what Senator Hennessy was voting on. Did I skip over you, or this was?
Yes. Yeah, That's
I'm
okay,
sorry.
though. I'll make the motion to adjourn now.
Okay, not yet.
Second.
Oh, not yet?
Hold it.
Because next
Time out.
Tuesday is town meeting
Oh,
day, so we will not be meeting next Tuesday, but we will be meeting the Tuesday after that. And, be prepared that we'll try to clean everything that we have up at that time. So we'll have some probably from session on Thursday. So, okay, well, with that, I will accept Senator Hennessy's motion to adjourn and Senator D'Alessandro's second, and call roll with Senator Rosenwald,
yes.
Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Gaida,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy,
Yes.
Senator Reagan,
Yes.
and chair votes yes, and we will be adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody-
Thank you, everybody.
Gary, I'm going to call you.